My beloved child, I call you in this very moment, not with a thunderous voice, nor through strange outward signs, but by the steady beating within your own chest. Each heartbeat is a reminder that you are alive, that a life has been given to you, not by chance or coincidence, but with purpose, with intent, and with eternal meaning. You have grown used to seeing life as a succession of days like a river that flows without pause. Yet you have never stopped to ask, why are you here at this particular time? Let me say plainly, you are not the result of randomness. You are part of a holy design, a link in the great tapestry being woven by my very hands. I know your heart is often bewildered. You pass through days weighed down by cares, work relationships, and unnamed responsibilities. You strain to stand firm, and in that grind, your soul grows weary. You begin to wonder, have I been forsaken? Were the dreams of my youth merely illusions? You may have often felt meaninglessness, as if life were a tedious loop, rise, work, return, repeat. But my child, I come to tell you that is only the mist that clouds your vision, not the truth. Beneath that haze lies a vast picture, and in that picture you hold a place no one else can occupy. Listen, not a single moment of your life is wasted. Even the days you call failures, even the silent tears shed on your pillow, even the pains you think no one understands, all are gathered and kept by me, recorded in my book. You number my wanderings. Put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book, Psalm 568? See, every step, every tear matters before me. And if every moment bears meaning, then nothing in your life is without purpose. My child, precisely because every moment matters, there are forces seeking to steal them from you. They do not knock loudly. They creep in through small compromises, through forgetfulness. They want you to live without truly living, to breathe without feeling to walk, without knowing where you go. That is the real danger, a soul clinically dead, still moving, yet the inner flame extinguished. I come to breathe life into you, to kindle within you a bright flame again, and to remind you that you are called to a purpose far higher than what you have settled for. Remember the early days when you once dreamed. As a child, you believed anything was possible. You believed love was real, that justice existed, that dreams could come true. Gradually, the world whispered other words into your ear. You are a dreamer. Be realistic. Life is about accepting things. You began to tuck those dreams into a drawer, lock them away, and let dust gather. You thought you had grown up when in truth you had narrowed your own soul. I come to open that drawer, to wipe the dust from the buried dreams, to remind you that I never forget. What you deemed dead, I call back to life. You may ask, why me? Why among billions am I chosen? The simple yet weighty answer, because you belong to me. You were made in my image and bear an eternal mark within you. No one can replace your place in the universe's symphony. If one note falls silent, the music goes on, yet the composition will never be as perfect as when every note sounds. You are that note. If you fall silent, the world loses the unique tone only you can bring. I do not come to give you a religion, a rigid system, or another burden. I come to give life. I have come that they may have life, and have it abundantly. John 1:0-10. That abundant life is not endless material wealth, nor applause from the world, but freedom of soul, joy no one can steal, and peace beyond all understanding. You have searched too long in places that never satisfy recognition, temporary security, easy compromises. Now is the time to turn back and take hold of what you truly need, life from the source. But you must also know that abundant life does not come without trials. Every soul must pass through a wilderness where all that is familiar is taken away, where you are forced to face yourself, not to destroy you, but to refine you, not to make you weak, but to reveal the strength that lies within you. Look at Joseph, betrayed, sold into slavery, thrown into prison, yet those very trials prepared him to become the deliverer of a nation. Look at Job, stripped of everything, yet ultimately restored twofold. Do you see, trials are not a sign that I have abandoned you, but proof that I am shaping you for something greater. My child, I know you are afraid. You fear failure, being misunderstood, losing what you hold dear. But I ask you, what is truly more fearful, to live your whole life inside a safe enclosure and never discover what you were called to be, or to risk stepping out in faith and discovering that I am always with you? The enemy wants you to believe that false security is the destination, but I call you to an adventure. Yes, there will be risk, tears, and stumbles, but I promise every tear will be gathered by me, every scar will become a witness, and every fall will become a stepping stone for firmer standing. This is a wake-up call. Open your eyes. Realize that you are living in a battle, not a battle of swords and spears, but a battle for the soul. And in that battle, you are not alone. Angels surround you. Prayers have been spoken on your behalf before you were even aware, and a stream of grace stands ready to pour out when you cry, "Help me." You are not forsaken. You are not forgotten. You are being summoned. So, my child, do not let today pass like any other. This is not a coincidence. This is a moment marking a new beginning. Right now, as you read these words, heaven leans in awaiting your response. Offer but a small yes, and I will do the rest. You do not need to know the entire route. You only need to take the first step. As Abraham left his homeland, not knowing where he would go, but trusting that I would lead him, so go you forth. I have prepared the way, and each step you take will be illumined in its appointed time. You are loved, called, chosen. Do not let darkness convince you that you are ordinary. Do not let the past imprison you in regret. Do not let fear steal the present. Lift your head, for right now I breathe new life, give you wings to soar, and place a torch in your hand to light the path. Begin today. This is the first summons, the first awakening, the opening of the journey of restoration. You will walk with me. My beloved child, I have awakened you with a reminder that you are not random but part of a holy design. Now I want to take you deeper so you may look squarely at the condition in which you live the state of slumber. Do not be quick to argue that you are awake, that you are working, living, and thinking. I do not speak of the body's state but of the soul's. How many walk, speak, and laugh while their soul is steeped in deep sleep? They live without knowing why. They live, act without understanding the purpose, laugh while feeling an inner void. You have been like that too, and at times you still find yourself caught in that whirl. This state of slumber does not arrive in a single day. It is nourished by thousands of small distractions. You wake, and the first thing you do is look at a screen, letting headlines, images, and comparisons take over your mind. You go to work and allow yourself to be swept up by pressures, expectations, and mounting responsibilities. You return home and seek relief in instant entertainment, in things that make you forget the pain but do not heal it. Then the next day repeats, and so your spirit sinks deeper into sleep. You think you are living while in truth you are merely existing. Do you see, when the soul is asleep, the most important things grow dim? You stop hearing my whisper. You cease to notice the angels standing around you. You forget that each day is both a gift and a battlefield. While asleep, the enemy easily sows lies into you that you are meaningless, that you cannot change, that you are merely a victim of circumstance, and because you are asleep, you believe those lies. My child, be honest with yourself. How many times have you reached for small pleasures to cover the emptiness? How many times have you laughed amidst a crowd while feeling lonely inside? How many nights have you lain down whispering, maybe tomorrow will be different, only to find tomorrow the same as today? These are the signs of a sleeping soul. You have allowed life to become a chain of unconscious habits, and in that unconsciousness, your living flame has been dimmed. I do not come to condemn, but to awaken. I want you to know that recognizing your sleep is not failure, but the beginning of awakening. No one can wake if they do not first admit they are asleep. When you acknowledge this truth, you have taken an important step on the journey home. You no longer chase the illusion that all is well. You no longer deceive yourself with everyone is like this. You have begun to see the emptiness within, and it is precisely that space where I can pour in light. I never despise your weakness. I am not ashamed to see you weary. I do not reject you when I find you doubting. I do not withdraw when I find you frail. On the contrary, I draw near more than ever. Like a father who gently shakes a sleeping child, I am stirring you awake. I whisper, "My child, it is time to rise. The night has passed. The new day is coming." Do you hear it? This is not a thunderous knock, but a tender, urgent call. Remember the scripture. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. Matthew 2:4-4-2. To be awake is not merely to await the final day, but to live each day with awareness. To be awake is to open your eyes to the signs I place around you, a probing conversation, an unexpected opportunity, a prompting in scripture, a stirring in your heart. When you wake, you will recognize that I have never been silent. I have been speaking all along, but only when your soul opens will you hear. To awaken also means to look squarely at what you have buried. It may be a pain you dare not face, a fault you will not confess, a dream you abandoned. While you sleep, these things lie quiet in the dark. But when you wake, light shines in and you are forced to see. Yes, that may hurt at first. Yet, my child, pain from the light is better than the comfort of darkness. Light heals. Darkness only rots. You may say, I have gone too far. I am too hardened. But I tell you, it is never too late. Every breath you draw is an opportunity to awaken. Even if you have wandered for decades, a single cry from the depths of your heart, "Help me," will be answered by heaven immediately. Like the prodigal son who turned back and whose father ran to embrace him, so I am with you. The moment you long to wake, I am ready to lift you up. My child, awakening is not a single event, but a process. Perhaps today you begin to see the unconscious patterns in your life. Tomorrow you will practice listening for the small whisper. Gradually you will learn to abandon the habits that put you to sleep and to build habits that keep you alert. Each day is a step, and each step, however small, is precious in my sight. You need not be perfect now. You only need honesty and willingness. Imagine a person sleeping in a dark room. Morning light slips through a crack in the door. At first, the eyes sting and want to turn away. But if the eyes are opened slowly, they adjust and the room becomes clear. Awakening is the same. At first, it may be uncomfortable. You may long to return to familiar darkness. But if you persist, the light will become your companion, and the dark will lose its power. Be brave enough to admit you have been asleep. Invite me to awaken you each morning. Ask me to open your eyes so you may see the invisible. Be ready to hear and obey, even if it is only the first small step. I promise when you begin to wake, you will find your life no longer drifting in meaninglessness. Every moment will become an opportunity to learn, to love, to give. Then you will know that your soul is truly alive. My beloved child, having heard the call to awaken and seen the sleep of your own soul, I now extend an invitation. Step into the new journey. Do not treat this as advice you may postpone. Do not regard it as an optional choice. This is a decisive summons, like standing at a fork in the road. One path is the old way with its familiarity, the other is the new way, difficult but full of life. I do not only want you to know the truth, I want you to have the courage to choose the truth, to walk in it, and to let it set your soul free. Understand this: knowing the truth without action is like seeing the light and deliberately keeping your eyes shut. Knowledge without movement will harden your heart and make it easy to slip back into the cycle of sleep. I invite you to take the step now. even if it is only the first one, for that first step will open the door to many more. Think of Abraham. He was not told the destination at the outset, yet he left his country, and that decision opened a holy lineage. Your new journey likewise begins with such a decision. You need not know the whole map. You only need to know that I go with you. You may be anxious. What if I fail? What if I return to my old ways? My child, I do not expect perfection from you. I expect faithfulness. Stumbling is not the end, but a natural part of growth. Like a toddler, learning to walk, every fall only strengthens the legs. I do not count the times you fall to condemn you. I count the times you rise to encourage you. So do not fear failure. Fear only this: not beginning at all, not daring to say the first yes. Do not imagine that embarking on a new journey must immediately be something grand. In truth, it begins with the smallest acts: a sincere prayer, a moment of stillness, to listen, a decision, to abandon the habit that numbs the soul, a single act of kindness toward another. Those things may seem trivial, yet they form the path. Like a drop of water that falling repeatedly hollows the stone, small choices made again and again will carve a new way into your heart, and when that path becomes clear, you will find yourself stepping into true freedom. Remember the words of my only son: whoever is faithful in little is also faithful in much. Luke 1:6-10. Do not wait for a great opportunity, for the greatest opportunity is today. An apology offered today can save a relationship. An honest decision today can open a new future. A prayer today can become the key that opens heaven's door. All of it begins with the present, and the present is the gift I place in your hands. When you awaken and choose to walk, darkness will push back. It will whisper words to make you doubt, arrange situations to discourage you, even use loved ones to test you. But do not fear, for he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. 1 John 4:4. The strength you need does not come from your own will alone, but from my presence within you. If you hold fast to me, no power can quench the flame I have kindled in your soul. Choose today as your milestone. Do not let it pass as an ordinary day. Write: today I choose to begin a new journey. Write so you will remember, so when your heart wavers you may look back and be reminded. Then return daily to that pledge, nourishing it with small deeds. Just as a young sapling needs light and water each day, your awakening needs daily tending. You will not see a towering tree at once, but day by day it grows until one day it will give shade not only to you but to many others. Believe that this invitation is personal and meant for you alone. I call you by name, not the crowd. I see you clearly, the wounds not yet healed, the silent tears, the dreams buried. And I say you are worthy to begin again. It is not too late, never too late. No matter how long you have been lost, no matter how many years darkness has covered you, a single step of returning is enough to make heaven tremble. Like the father who ran to embrace the prodigal son, so am I. I wait for your turning, and I have already opened my arms wide. When you answer yes, I will place in your hands the tools you need: wisdom to discern, patience to endure, and peace to stand firm. You need not carry the whole future. Carry only today's portion. You will find the burden light, because my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matthew 1:1-3-0. As you learn to live each day, you will discover a secret. True freedom is not in controlling everything, but in trusting that I am in control. The goal of this journey is not for you to become someone else, but to return to yourself, the being I shaped from the beginning. There is a light in you, a song, a mission that no one else can take. When you awaken and begin to walk, that light will flare up, illuminating you and those around you. Then you will understand what abundant life is and what true freedom means. My child, stand up, take a deep breath and say, yes, I begin. You do not need to be perfect, nor must you know every step. Be honest and willing. I am here, I will walk with you. The angels surround you. All heaven watches. Step forward, for this is the beginning of a new journey, not only to transform you, but to transform the world around you. Beloved child, I want to open your eyes to a reality many never notice. True danger is not always loud, not always dressed as disaster or a great catastrophe. The most frightening threats often arrive quietly, like tiny drops of water that keep falling until they wear away the rock. They do not bang loudly on the door nor threaten openly. They slip gently into habits, into thoughts, into small acts of surrender. And because of that silence, you are tempted to ignore them, to let them pass, to call them harmless normality. Your enemy is not in a hurry. He knows a direct assault can make you vigilant and can make you run to me. So he chooses another way. He sows small seeds and waits patiently. A fleeting thought, I am worthless. A lie repeated again and again. Everyone is like me, there is nothing special. A postponement that seems harmless. I'll do it tomorrow. Piece by piece, these small things come together into invisible chains that bind the soul. You do not see the rope yet. You feel the weight, the powerlessness, the fading joy of life. Look at yourself. How many times have you compromised with what you know is wrong, soothing yourself with, everyone does it? How many times have you let a tiny but toxic habit take root until it became your master? How many times have you nourished bitterness in your heart, letting it lie there like an unwashed wound? You think these are mere details, but I tell you those details are the gateways through which darkness enters. The danger of these schemes is that they gradually erode the three pillars of the soul: mind, emotions, and will. When the mind is worn away, you can no longer distinguish true from false. When emotions are manipulated, you lose the strength to love. When the will is corroded, you no longer dare to act. And once these three pillars wobble, you will feel like a boat adrift at sea, still floating but without direction, still alive but without true life. I need you to understand that the greatest danger is not always what you plainly see, but what you take for granted. The Bible says the devil stands like a roaring lion, prowling about, seeking someone to devour. 1 Peter 5:8. But he does not always roar. Most often he whispers. He dresses himself in the garments of reason, convenience, normalcy. He does not call you to betray immediately. He only whispers, just this once. He does not demand you give everything up at once. He simply pours into your ear the thought, you can change later. And it is precisely that postponement that is his sweetest stratagem. Think of someone who is asleep. If someone shouts loudly, the sleeper will awaken. But if someone lulls them with a soft voice, they will sleep more deeply. Darkness works the same way. It does not want you alert. It wants you to continue sleeping. It wants you to grow accustomed to numbness, to call apathy normal, to label despair as being realistic. But I come to shake you awake, to pull you out of that loop, because I know that if you remain in that state, your soul will be eroded until it can no longer hear the sacred call. One of the great devices of darkness is to convince you that the emptiness inside is a small matter. You tell yourself, everyone feels down sometimes, and you let it pass. Yet prolonged despondency will harden into despair, and prolonged despair will become paralysis. That is how the enemy binds you. He does not need to bash down the door. It is enough to keep you living day to day. And when you no longer hunger, no longer hope, no longer dare to believe, you have surrendered without being defeated. Another ruse is to make you identify yourself with your pain. You begin to define yourself by failures, by wounds, by criticism. You forget that you are made in my image, that you carry an intrinsic worth no one can take away. When you forget this, you readily accept less than what I intended for you. You settle for blandness, for mediocrity, for living beneath your true potential. And once you have settled, the enemy needs do nothing more. You must also know that darkness does not only attack the individual, it attacks through the environment. It uses constant noise to prevent you from ever being still. It keeps you so busy that there is no time to reflect. It manufactures a culture of comparison so that you always feel lacking. Piece by piece, it strangles your soul. And because all of this is camouflaged as normal, you do not realize you are in the midst of a fierce battle. But my child, I reveal this not to frighten you, but to wake you. When light shines, darkness loses ground. When you begin to name the things that are eroding you, you reclaim authority. You are no longer a helpless victim, but a vigilant warrior. And once you awaken, the angels will strengthen you. I will arm you, and you will find yourself stronger than ever before. So do not dismiss the small things. Do not call numbness a disposition. Do not call compromise flexibility. Do not call despair realism. Call them by their true name chains. And once you name them rightly, you can begin to break them. Every step of awakening, every honest decision, every refusal of a lie is a broken link. You will not shatter all the chains in a single night, but link by link they will snap, and one day you will find yourself truly free. Let me illumine every corner, even when you are afraid. Pain for the sake of light is still better than comfort in the dark, and I promise I will walk with you in every step. You do not fight alone. The heavenly hosts surround you. I hold your hand. And once you see the true nature of the invisible threat, you will no longer be helpless prey, but a vigilant warrior. Beloved child, now that I have shown you the nature of the invisible danger, I want you to look more closely at the doors through which darkness commonly slips into your soul. These are not doors of wood or iron, but spiritual and emotional passages, places where you choose to receive or to reject. Those doors are your thoughts, your emotions, your words, your actions, and even the relationships you keep. The enemy knows every crack in the fortress of the soul, and he waits patiently for the moment you are careless to step inside. My child, the first door is thought. Every battle begins in the mind. When a thought appears, it is like a seed falling to the ground. If you reject it, the seed dies, but if you nurture it, it will sprout and grow. The enemy knows this power, so he sows small but persistent thoughts into your mind. You are not good enough. Nothing will ever change. You are not worthy of love. At first, they are faint echoes, but if you allow them to repeat, they become beliefs. And once they become beliefs, they shape your feelings and your actions. Do you see? When you believe you are not enough, you will behave as one who is not enough. You will refuse opportunities, withdraw, and be afraid to dream. When you believe that nothing changes, you will give up and lose perseverance. When you believe you are unworthy of love, you will sabotage relationships or seek affection where it can never satisfy. From a single seed of thought, an entire life can be formed. That is the enemy's cunning. He does not need to attack directly. He only needs to plant a thought and let you tend it. The second door is emotion. Emotions were given to you to feel life, to rejoice, to weep, to empathize, to love. But when emotions are misused, they become a blade turned back against you. The enemy delights in inflating negative emotions. A touch of anxiety becomes chronic fear. A sting of disappointment becomes bitterness. A moment of loneliness becomes despair. He makes you believe that feeling is the same as truth, that fear equals danger, that loneliness means worthlessness. But my child, emotions are not always true. Emotions are signals, not sentences. If you learn to view them in my light, they become instruments of healing. But if you let darkness manipulate them, they will become chains. So do not take small things lightly. Do not call numbness a disposition. Do not call compromise flexibility. Do not call despair realism. Name them rightly. They are chains. And once you have named them, you can begin to break them. Every act of awakening, every honest decision, every time you refuse a lie, is a broken link. You will not shatter every chain in a single night, but link by link they will snap, and one day you will find yourself truly free. Allow me to illuminate every dark corner even though you are afraid. Pain for the sake of light is still better than comfort in the dark, and I promise I will walk with you at every step. You do not fight alone. The heavenly host surrounds you. I hold your hand, and once you see the true nature of the invisible danger, you will no longer be helpless prey, but a vigilant warrior. Beloved child, now that I have shown you the nature of the invisible threat, I want you to look more clearly at the doors through which darkness most often slips into your soul. These are not doors of wood or iron, but spiritual and emotional gateways, places where you choose to accept or to reject. Those doors are your thoughts, your emotions, your words, your actions, and even the relationships you keep. The enemy knows every gap in the fortress of the soul, and he waits patiently for the moment you are careless to step inside. My child, the first door is thought. Every battle begins in the mind. When a thought appears, it is like a seed falling to the ground. If you reject it, the seed dies, but if you nurture it, it will sprout and grow. The enemy knows this power, so he sows into your mind small but persistent thoughts. You are not good enough. Nothing will ever change. You are not worthy of love. At first, they are faint echoes, but if you allow them to repeat, they become beliefs. And once they become beliefs, they shape your emotions and actions. Do you see? When you believe you are not enough, you will act like someone who is not enough. You will refuse opportunities, withdraw, and be afraid to dream. When you believe nothing will change, you give up and lose perseverance. When you believe you are unworthy of love, you sabotage relationships or seek affection where it can never satisfy. From a single seed of thought, an entire life can be formed. That is the enemy's cunning. He need not attack directly. He only must plant a thought and let you tend it. The second door is emotion. Emotions were given to you to feel life, to rejoice, to weep, to empathize, to love. But when emotions are misused, they become a blade turned back against you. The enemy delights in inflating negative feelings. A bit of anxiety becomes chronic fear. A sting of disappointment becomes bitterness. A moment of loneliness becomes despair. He makes you believe that feeling is the same as truth, that fear equals real danger, that loneliness means worthlessness. But my child, emotions are not always true. Emotions are signals, not sentences. If you learn to view them in my light, they become instruments of healing. But if you let darkness manipulate them, they will become chains. The third door is speech. Words may seem merely sounds, but they possess the power to shape the soul. How often have you let slip complaints, "I can't do it," "My life is ruined," "Nothing will ever change"? Each such utterance is like a negative prophecy binding you in fetters. The enemy rejoices when you use your own mouth to strengthen the chains. Conversely, when you speak words of hope, praise, and forgiveness, heaven amplifies them. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18:21. This is not merely metaphor, it is spiritual reality. The fourth door is behavior. Every action, however small, carves a path in the heart. A good habit repeated opens the way for light. A bad habit repeated opens a gate for darkness. The enemy does not need you to commit a great sin. He only needs you to repeat a small behavior that wears down the soul: procrastination, lying, self-destruction, wasting time on trivialities. When behavior becomes habit and habit becomes lifestyle, you will find yourself bound without understanding why. The final and most subtle door is relationship. You were made to live in community, to love and be loved. But when relationships become twisted, they turn into instruments by which darkness drains you dry. A friend who constantly sows negativity, a romantic bond that brings control and harm, an environment where hypocrisy replaces sincerity, any of these can become a trap. The enemy wants you to believe this is love, that it is fate, so you cling and are gradually exhausted. But my child, true love always brings freedom, safety, and uplift. What binds you, diminishes you, and distances you from me, that is not love, that is a chain. You must see that these doors do not open by themselves. They are opened by your choices, even when made unconsciously. A thought accepted, an emotion nurtured, a word spoken, an action repeated, a relationship maintained, all are decisions. And in each decision you hand authority either to the light or to the dark. No power can force you, for I have placed freedom within you. But that freedom carries responsibility. You may ask, how will I know which is a trap and which is the truth? I answer, measure it by the light of my word. If a thought sinks you deeper into despair, it is not from me. If an emotion drives you away from me and from others, it is not from me. If a word sows fear and hatred, it is not from me. If an action wastes the soul, it is not from me. If a relationship yields only chains, it is not from me. You will know the tree by its fruit. My fruit is always life, peace, righteousness, and love. Child, what matters is not that you have never opened the wrong door, but that today you choose to close them and build a new fence. You cannot change the past, but you can decide the present. You cannot erase every bad choice, but you can begin choosing rightly from today. And when you choose rightly, I and the heavenly host will strengthen you, so that each right decision becomes a step toward freedom. Therefore, examine yourself which doors are open in your life that allow darkness in. Write them down and place them before me. Do not fear the light, for it does not come to condemn but to heal. When the light shines, darkness has no place. When you dare to face it, truth will set you free. And when you close the old doors, I will open new ones, doors that lead to peace, hope, and abundant life. Do not take daily choices lightly. Each choice is a declaration. Either you declare I belong to the darkness, or you declare I belong to the light. I want you to choose the light. And when you choose light, all heaven will rejoice. Beloved child, now I want you to see more clearly. The schemes you face are not random assaults or accidental clashes, but a long-term strategy. The enemy does not merely want to make you stumble for a moment. He wants to shape your whole life into a pattern of failure, hopelessness, and paralysis. He knows that if he can divert you just a few degrees each day after many years, you will be so far from your destination that you will hardly recognize yourself. That long-term strategy begins with familiarity. He makes you believe that harmful habits are who you are, that wrong choices are simply fate. You accept prolonged pain and call it life. You let numbness erode you and call it growing up. And when you misname the chains, those chains become part of your identity. This is the enemy's greatest victory, to make victims identify themselves with their fetters. Remember, how many times have you heard a voice within saying, "This is not you," and then ignored it because you thought change was impossible? At that moment, the enemy scores. He does not need you to rebel openly. He only needs you to keep accepting a dull life with no hope and no longing. Day by day, he carves your life into the image of despair. Child, be alert to this truth. This strategy targets not only individuals but communities. Darkness seeks to break families, for it knows family is where values are sown. It seeks to divide friends, for it knows true friendship sustains the soul. It seeks to dull the faith of a whole generation so that people live for themselves and no longer hear the call from heaven. When a community falls into collective indifference, it becomes fertile soil for darkness to run rampant. But child, I do not leave you in this battle without arms. On the contrary, I have equipped you fully. Only you must recognize and use them. The first weapon is my word. That word is not mere ink on a page, but a double-edged sword that cuts through lies. When darkness whispers, "You are worthless," answer, "I am fearfully and wonderfully made." Psalm 139:14. When it murmurs, nothing will ever change. Remind yourself, all things work together for good, for those who love God. Romans 8:28. My word is not only knowledge but a weapon. Each time you use it, darkness is driven back. The second weapon is prayer. Do not think of prayer as mere ritual, for prayer is the breath of the soul. Each time you pray, you connect with the infinite source of life and draw heavenly strength into the present. Prayer may not change circumstances immediately, but it changes you, making you strong enough to face circumstances. And when you change, the flow of reality changes too. Do not despise the little whispers you offer before sleep, for they echo in the unseen realm. The third weapon is worship. When you praise, even amid suffering, darkness trembles. Worship proclaims that I remain king despite circumstances. Worship is light piercing through darkness. It is not merely a song, but a spiritual strategy. As Paul and Silas were in the prison, when they sang, chains broke and the prison doors opened. Acts 1:6-5:26. You see, worship not only comforts the soul, but alters reality. The fourth weapon is community. You were not made to fight alone. When you stand with others in faith, strength multiplies exponentially. The enemy seeks division, so you will be isolated, but I desire unity, so you will stand firm. A single coal will cool, but many coals keep together to blaze. So do not withdraw, do not shut yourself off. Seek community, share, let others support you when you are weak, and support others when you are strong. Do not forget, darkness has a long-term strategy, but light also has an eternal plan. Darkness schemes to destroy, I plan to redeem. Every step you take toward awakening is part of the greater plan. When you refuse a lie, when you choose an act of love, when you open your mouth in prayer, it is not merely a personal victory, but a wave that reaches into the unseen. Each decision you make alters the current of history more than you imagine. You may think yourself small, but remember, even a vigilant soul is feared by the enemy. He knows that a single candle can push back the darkness in an entire room. So when you choose to rise, when you choose to wield the weapons I have given you, do not merely protect yourself. You open a way for many others to return to the light. You are a warrior in my plan, an indispensable link in the great battle between light and darkness. Do not be deceived by the slowness of the darkness, and do not be terrified by its cunning strategies. Know this, I am in you, I am with you, I fight for you. The moment you say yes, heaven moves. The moment you stand, the darkness trembles. And the moment you take up the weapons I have given, victory has begun. Be watchful, my beloved. Step out of indifference. Close the doors the darkness once opened. Use the radiant weapons in your hand. This is the time not merely to survive, but to live a life of abundance, purpose, and to bring light to the world around you. My beloved, I speak to you. There are moments in life that mark a before and after. They are not ordinary days. They are times of choice. Today is such a moment. You are no longer in a fog. Truth has been revealed, darkness exposed, deceit unmasked. You cannot pretend not to know. You cannot return to your old unconsciousness without taking responsibility. The light has come, and the light always compels you to choose. Understand, this silence is not neutrality. Delay is not harmless. Not deciding is itself a decision. When you stand still, the darkness tightens its chains around the soul. When you say, I'll do it tomorrow, that tomorrow may never come. Hesitation is the enemy's most faithful ally, because it does not require you to rebel openly. It only needs you to postpone until the light within you fades. I will not send you into this battle empty-handed. I have given you weapons, and they are not mere metaphors but real power. I have placed in your hand the sword of my word. That word is sharp. It cuts through every lie and breaks every shackle. But the sword is only a weapon when you grasp it. It may lie there shining yet be useless if you do not lift it. So decide, will you take the sword and enter the fray, or leave it sheathed while the enemy runs rampant? Child, I know you are afraid you are not strong enough, afraid of failure, afraid of losing what is familiar. But I ask you, which is more terrifying, living a lifetime in chains or stepping out in faith to discover true freedom? The fear you feel now is not proof you cannot do it, but evidence that you stand at an important threshold. The darkness trembles most before it loses power. Do not let fear decide for you. Let faith lead the way. Remember the people of Israel at the Red Sea. They saw the enemy pursuing and wanted to return to Egypt, to chains that were familiar. But I said, stand firm and you will see the salvation of the Lord. Exodus 1:4-1:3. And when they walked into the water, the sea parted. Do you see miracles happen when they walk, not when they wait for the sea to part? Faith always requires the first step. So do not wait for the sea to part before you step. Step and the sea will part. Action need not be great at first. It can begin with small steps, a sincere prayer, a decision to forgive, a move away from a toxic environment, an apology, a renunciation of a soul-draining habit. The size of the act matters less than its honesty. When you say yes to the light, heaven will amplify it. When you raise a trembling hand, heavenly hosts will support you. When you dare but one small step, I will open the way for 10 greater ones. How many times have you heard the call, been moved, and then let it pass? How many times have you promised yourself change, then postponed it? How many times has the flame flared and then been allowed to die out? Child, today is different. Today I call you not only to listen but to act. Not merely to be moved but to choose. Not only to think but to decide. This is not a brief moment of inspiration but a turning point that changes destiny. I know you are weary. You have tried in your own strength and fallen. You have striven for change and been disappointed. But child, the secret of this new journey does not lie in your own power, but in my presence. You do not fight alone, for I fight for you. You do not break the chains alone, for I am the one who shatters them. Simply say, help me, and I will grant strength. You are not alone. Angels surround you. All heaven leans in. Treat today as a milestone. Write down, today I choose the light. When you write it, you carve the decision deep into your mind. When you declare it, the darkness loses its foothold. It will try to strike back, but do not fear. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. James 4:7. Strength does not lie in your perfection, but in standing firm in the light. Do not underestimate a decision. Every decision is a seed. A small seed can grow into a great tree. A single yes can open an entire future. Think of the prodigal son. One choice to return unlocked the father's embracing arms. Think of Peter. One choice to leave the nets launched him on a journey to become a pillar of the church. You are the same. One decision today can change the whole course of your life. I repeat once more, this is a moment of decision. Do not turn away, do not delay. The chains have been exposed, the light has shone in. Now the question remains, will you take up the sword and step out? Will you dare to walk on the sea? Will you dare to believe that I am greater than your fear? Will you dare to live your destiny? Rise up, child of mine. Say, yes, I begin. Step forward, and you will see the sea part, chains break, darkness retreat. This is the time, this is the day, this is the hour, and I promise I will walk with you every step of the way. My beloved, whenever a soul decides to awaken and choose the light, the entire unseen realm trembles. That decision is not merely a personal choice, but a resounding declaration in the spiritual world. This person no longer belongs to darkness. Because of that, the enemy will not sit idly by. It knows that once you stand up, you will become living evidence of my deliverance, and that testimony can draw many others. It knows that once the flame in you ignites, many other flames will be kindled. Therefore, the moment you choose the light, the darkness will strike back fiercely. Do not be surprised if after you decide to move, the storm rises. Do not think sudden hardships are a sign you are on the wrong path. Rather, they are proof you are going the right way. When you stayed bound by the chains the enemy needed not act for it, knew you were harmless. But when you rise, it sees a warrior forming. It trembles, and to hide its fear it roars. Remember, roaring is not strength but desperation. You only need to stand firm and you will see how weak it truly is. Child, I want you to recognize how the enemy resists. It does not always present itself with a terrifying face. Most often it slips in through familiar channels, through emotions, through whispering thoughts, and especially through those closest to you. Prepare your heart. Some friends, relatives, even those you trust most, may react when you begin to live truly in the light. Not because they hate you, but because the light in you exposes the darkness in them, and that discomfort causes them to react. Remember what my son said, a man's enemies will be those of his own household. Matthew 1:036. He did not say this to sow suspicion, but that you might soberly recognize that darkness can borrow the mouths of those near to you to make you shrink back. A seemingly harmless word of criticism may cause you to doubt your worth. A single reproach may make you want to return to old ways. A rejection may leave you feeling alone. But child, do not let these things discourage you. They are not proof that I have abandoned you, but proof that the light in you has begun to shine. Remember, Jesus himself faced resistance even from his own family. When he began his mission, his relatives thought he was out of his mind. Mark 3:2-1. When he taught in his hometown, the villagers rejected him and sought to kill him. Luke 4:29. If my son faced opposition, you will encounter it too. But do not fear, for resistance is not failure. It is confirmation that you are on the right path. Do not forget, the enemy often employs the strategy of divide and conquer. He wants you to believe you are alone, that no one understands you, that even those close to you will turn away. He wants you to confuse resistance with abandonment. But I speak to you, you are never forsaken. Even if misunderstood, even if rejected, I remain with you. I have never left your side for a single moment. You may lose some relationships, but that is only to make way for new ones stronger and rooted in the light. Look to those who came before. Abraham had to leave his homeland, face separation, yet he became the father of many nations. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, yet through that he became the savior of a nation. Moses faced the people's complaints, yet he led them out of slavery. Peter and Paul endured fierce opposition, yet through it the gospel spread across the world. Do you see? Resistance does not hinder destiny, it propels it forward. Child, I want you to prepare for battles within your heart. When you choose the light, darkness will try to shoot arrows of doubt. Are you sure? Are you worthy? Are you strong enough? It will stir fear. If you step forward, you will lose everything. If you live truly, others will abandon you. Such thoughts may make you tremble. But remember, these are not my words. My voice always brings peace, hope, and love. The enemy's voice sows fear, sorrow, and despair. Discern carefully and do not be confused. Resistance sometimes comes in the form of unexpected trials, financial hardship, illness, or a personal crisis. You may think, why, the moment I choose to follow you, do things become harder? But I say to you, this is not punishment, but exposure. What was hidden is now revealed to the light, so that I may heal and deliver. Do not see trials as obstacles, see them as opportunities to witness my power. Child, remember, this resistance does not last forever. It is like a storm, fierce roaring, but it passes. Meanwhile, my light shines eternally. Darkness may push back, but it cannot prevail. You do not fight to achieve victory. You fight from the victory already won on the cross. The enemy has only one weapon left to make you forget this truth. Therefore, always remember, in the world you will have tribulation. But take heart, I have overcome the world. John 1:6-3. Child, be courageous. When you see darkness, resist. Do not see it as a reason to retreat, but as a signal to advance. Each time you hold firm in faith, each time you say no to lies, each time you continue walking, the darkness weakens. Every step you take declares to the unseen realm that light is stronger than darkness, truth stronger than falsehood, love stronger than hatred. I have fully equipped you the sword of the word, the armor of faith, the shield of righteousness, the helmet of salvation. You are not exposed in battle. Angels surround you, I dwell within you, the Holy Spirit upholds you. The enemy may roar, but it cannot touch your soul when you stand in me. Remember, resistance only proves that you have entered new territory. It is not a signal to stop, but a confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. Do not turn back. Do not lose heart. Do not doubt. Stand firm, advance, and you will see the darkness recede. Today I speak to you, resistance is not the end but the overture to glory. Keep moving and you will witness the sea will part, chains will break, and light will burst forth in your life. My beloved, I know your heart trembles. Even after you have decided to take up the sword, even after you have said yes to the light, fear still whispers, what if I fail? What if I step forward and get hurt? What if I lose everything familiar? Hear me. Fear is not a sign of weakness, but evidence that you are stepping into new territory. Steps of faith are always accompanied by trembling, for your soul is leaving false security to enter eternal reality. I do not call you to wait until fear is gone to step forward. If you wait until trembling ceases, you will never move. Faith is not the absence of fear, but the choice to step forward despite it. Faith is setting foot on the water while the waves rage. Faith is climbing the mountain even when your legs shake. Faith is opening your mouth to pray even before the answer is visible. Do not confuse courage with the absence of fear. It is continuing to move forward even while afraid. Remember Peter. When he stepped out of the boat, he saw the waves, his heart trembled. Yet that step made him the only one besides Jesus to walk on water. If he had waited for the wind to calm, he would never have witnessed the miracle. Likewise, if you wait until fear is gone, you will miss the opportunity to feel my hand holding you amid the storms. Child, you do not walk alone. Every step you take is surrounded by heavenly companionship. Angels do not merely observe from afar. They encircle you, protect you, support each step. When you stumble, they lift you. When you grow weary, they encourage you. When you feel utterly spent, they bring renewed strength. You cannot count the times they have prevented disaster, the times they have removed traps you could not see. Believe the heavens are full of hands holding you, even when your eyes cannot see. I know fear sometimes comes from memory, past failures, unhealed wounds, times you tried and fell. The enemy constantly reminds you of them to make you believe you cannot change. But I say to you, the past does not define the future. Even if you fall 7 times, I lift you 7 times. Even in past failures, I transform them into foundations for new strength. You are not imprisoned by memory. You are freed by my promise. Look at Joseph, betrayed, sold into slavery, wrongfully imprisoned. By human standards, who could believe he would become Egypt's prime minister? Yet, through that chain of trials, I trained him to one day save countless lives. You see, failures and wounds do not hinder destiny. They prepare the way. Likewise, what once caused you pain will become the place where I display my power. Child, heavenly protection does not promise you a storm-free path, but guarantees that the storms will not consume you. You may be tested, but you will not be destroyed. You may shed tears, but you will not be abandoned. You may stumble, but you will not be defeated. for I am with you, and my presence is your fortress. Remember my words in Psalm 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. When you step forward, that is your refuge. Darkness may resist, but my wings cover you. The enemy may roar, but my voice silences it. Storms may rise, but I speak to the waves. Be still. I do not wait for you to be strong before I protect you. On the contrary, it is in your weakness that my power is fully revealed. You are afraid, I turn fear into refuge. You tremble, I turn trembling into dependence. You are weak, I make weakness the place where my power dwells. So do not be ashamed of fear. Give it to me, and I will turn it into strength. Let me give you an image, a child learning to walk. It trembles, stumbles, falls. Yet the parents are always there, arms outstretched, ready to catch, ready to rejoice when it takes another step. I am the same with you. I do not demand that you run immediately. I rejoice each time you dare to step, however small, however trembling. Each step you take is heaven's joy, and each fall I do not rebuke. I lift you, wipe your tears, and encourage you to move forward. Child fear will not vanish overnight, but heavenly companionship is real every day. When you pray, you activate a shield of protection. When you worship, you build a wall of light. When you take up my word, you raise the shining sword. Do not wait until fear disappears to act. Act within the fear, and it will fade as you move. Remember, the enemy fears a soul that knows it is not alone. He wants you to believe you stand alone. He wants you to look around and see emptiness. But the truth is, you are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses, by angels, by the Holy Spirit, and by me. You are never alone in this battle. You only need to open the eyes of faith, and you will see the mountains full of horses and chariots surrounding you, just as Elisha saw. 2 Kings 6:1-7. My beloved, I call you walk, even if your heart races, even if your hands tremble. Do not wait to be free from fear. Step forward in the midst of it. And when you step, you will see me there, closer than ever. You will see the darkness retreat, the light flare, the protection of my hand. This is a sure promise. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 4:1-10. My child, let today's steps become evidence that you trust me more than you trust fear. Let today's actions speak louder than the trembling in your heart. Let every forward step you take make heaven rejoice and darkness tremble. You are not stepping only for yourself, you are opening a path for many others. Your courage will become a light for those seeking the way out. So wait no longer. Walk. Walk in fear, but walk in faith. Walk trembling, yet walk in companionship. Walk through trials, yet walk under my protection. And I promise every step will be upheld, every tear wiped away, every battle turned into a testimony of my glory. Do not forget, the darkness will never sit idle while you shine. It knows that once the fire within you is lit and sustained, its entire dominion will collapse. That is why it focuses on every scheme to snuff out that light before it can grow to stop you from rising, to make you believe that the sparks of hope you feel are fleeting, fragile, and meaningless. It does not need to destroy you with a direct strike. It simply lulls your soul until you forget that a fire ever burned within you. My child, the enemy comes not with violent storms, but with slow, persistent whispers. It breathes into your ear insidious words. Do not hope too much, you will only be disappointed. Do not stand out too much, others will not accept you. Do not take risks, stay comfortable, it's easier that way. And when you listen, you shrink inward, locking the flame of your heart in a sealed box, convincing yourself that this is wisdom, that this is maturity, while in reality, you are suffocating the light, letting it fade. Whenever a new desire rises in your heart, a dream, a vision, a push to move forward, A thick fog of doubt descends almost instantly. You begin to think, maybe I'm not capable. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe it's just an illusion. These thoughts do not come from me. They come from the one who seeks to strangle you. It wants you to live your entire life in the whirlpool of maybe to never truly begin to die slowly in procrastination. Many times I have seen you allow old memories to bind you. You remember past failures, moments of collapse, the judgments others have passed, and conclude that you cannot change. Those memories are invisible chains making it hard for your fire to flare. But I want you to know the past does not determine your destiny. What has happened does not define who you are today. If the past alone could dictate the future, Joseph would have remained a slave, David a nameless shepherd boy, Paul a persecutor of the church. But you see, I turned their stories upside down to prove that everything can change, and I can do the same for you. The darkness employs another tactic. It makes you constantly compare yourself to others. Whenever you see someone skilled, successful, or celebrated, you immediately feel small, useless. It wants you to forget that I did not create you to be anyone's copy. Each person I create bears a unique imprint like stars, no two alike. But the darkness knows that if you recognize your uniqueness, you will shine brilliantly, so it keeps you distracted, gazing at others' light, forgetting the lamp in your own hand. Remember, the greatest danger is distraction. When your mind is filled with noise, your schedule-packed screens flashing, there is no room for the flame to be nurtured. You move from day to day like a machine, working, consuming, sleeping, and repeating. The flame does not die because of a strong gust of wind, but from the lack of the oxygen of stillness, prayer, and worship. The darkness knows this, and so it keeps you so busy that you do not even realize you are slowly dying inside. But my child, I'll tell you another way. The flame within you does not have to be weak or fragile. It can blaze powerfully if you know how to care for it. Care does not come from complex rituals, but from small, consistent steps. Each time you speak with me, even in a whispered word before closing your eyes, you are pouring oil into the lamp. Each time you open the Bible and let my words soak in, you are adding dry wood to the fire. Each time you choose to sing to give thanks, even in the midst of trials, you are rekindling coals on the verge of dying. Each time you surround yourself with those who encourage faith, you are connecting your flame to theirs, rising together in brilliant light. That flame must be protected from what drains it. You know well in your heart what exhausts your soul, yet often you justify it. A habit that seems harmless, yet each time you indulge, the life within you diminishes. A relationship that once brought joy now only acts as an anchor pulling you downward. An environment you thought safe, yet in reality obscures the light. Be courageous to face it honestly, for the flame cannot be both nourished and suffocated at the same time. My child, I do not say keeping the flame is easy, but I promise it is worth it. For the flame within you is not only to keep you warm, but to illuminate the way for countless others who are lost. There are souls stumbling in darkness who need only the smallest light from you to find hope and step forward. You may not see the impact you have, but I do. That is why I urgently call you, do not let the flame die. Each day you may think small actions make no difference, but in the invisible realm, each prayer, each word of gratitude, each act of love adds light. They resonate together, shaking the curtain of darkness. The darkness trembles when you are faithful in the small things, for it knows that a faithful little flame today can become a great torch tomorrow. Therefore, I invite you to be alert. Do not let yourself be lulled into numbness. Do not let the flame be choked by the noise of the world. Keep it alive, stoke it daily. Let your breath, your words, every action become fuel for the fire. And trust me, that flame will not only keep you warm, but burn away the darkness around you, opening the way for countless others to find the true source of light. Beloved child, When I speak to you of keeping the flame alive, I also want you to understand a deeper truth. The darkness, no matter how cunning, operates only within limits. It has no absolute power. It can only create illusions to make you believe it is strong. It roars like a lion, but its teeth have long been broken. It wears a terrifying cloak, but when the light shines, it is only a distorted shadow on the wall. My child, you once saw in childhood dreams how a shadow on the wall could make you tremble, even though it was only cast by a chair or a hanging garment. Likewise, darkness creates gigantic shadows in your mind, magnifying fear, amplifying failure, making you believe there is no escape. But when you dare to turn on the light, when you let the light of truth shine, you realize it is all deception. The enemy is not as strong as you thought. It lives only by your misplaced belief in its power. My child, the power of darkness does not lie in truth but in deception. It cannot create, it can only imitate and distort. It cannot take away your free will, but it can whisper lies into your ear until you accept them as truth. And when you believe the falsehood, you bind yourself in chains it never needed to touch. Therefore, the real battle does not occur outside, but within your heart, your mind, your faith. My son has said, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." John 8:3-2. Because truth has the power to break chains, darkness fears it more than anything else. It creates illusions that you are powerless, unworthy, or too far gone. But when you dare to stand and declare the truth, that you are made in my image, that you are redeemed by blood, that you are chosen to carry light, those invisible chains immediately crumble. It cannot endure the resonance of truth, for truth exposes its weakness. My child, darkness only has power when you consent. If you believe lies, it gains a foothold. But if you refuse, if you stand firm in truth, it can do nothing but roar in vain. It is like an enemy banging at the door, shouting and striking. But if you do not open it, it cannot enter. Your will is the key. The flame within you is your shield. When you stand firm, it can only create illusions. It cannot possess you. Beloved, remember the story of Jesus in the wilderness. The tempter came with empty promises, power-bred protection, but all were illusions, hollow toys. He did not argue at length. He responded with the word, "It is written," and every time truth was spoken, the illusion fell. The tempter had to retreat. You can do the same. You do not need dramatic miracles, only the declaration of truth. When you say, "I am not a slave to fear, I am a child of God," in that very moment, darkness loses its footing. Picture this: a figure in a black cloak, face hidden, may make you tremble. But if you remove the cloak, you see only a small quivering being. Likewise, truth is the light that strips away the disguise. The more you walk in truth, the more you realize the enemy is not great. It only pretends. And I tell you, do not allow yourself to be defeated by one who exists only as an illusion. The enemy fears most when you dare to stand. It knows that one who stands in truth can make its entire army collapse. It trembles when you pray. It stirs uneasily when you worship. It aches when you forgive. For all these actions are flames consuming its illusions. You do not need to shout to prove strength. You need only persist. Keep stepping forward even when trembling. Keep believing even when unseen. Keep loving even when hurt. Each step is a strike against illusion. Do not be mistaken if you still hear its voice. An illusion may still scream, but the scream cannot harm you if you do not grant it power. A frightening dream may quicken your heart, but upon waking it has no authority. Likewise, you will hear shouting, see shadows, but if you stand in the light, there is nothing. Remember this: the presence of fear is not failure. It is evidence that you are on the right path. If you did not pose a threat to darkness, it would not trouble you at all. My child, true strength does not come from no longer hearing lies, but from discerning them and remaining unshaken. This is spiritual maturity, knowing that the enemy still lurks, yet it no longer has power, knowing that illusions still appear, yet the light has already prevailed. Knowing that you may tremble, yet you stand firm, for real strength does not reside in emotions, but in the foundation of eternal truth. Therefore, do not be deceived by illusions. When darkness presents images of your helplessness, remember you carry within you the power of the Holy Spirit. When it conjures memories of failure, remember, the blood of my Son has cleansed you. When it stirs comparisons, remember you are unique in my plan. Each time you choose truth, you shatter a piece of illusion. And eventually, when the veil fully falls, you will see that darkness is nothing but lifeless emptiness. Hold fast to truth, keep the flame alive, and you will see true power does not belong to the enemy, but to me within you. Stand, be steadfast, and walk forward. You do not fight to win victory. You fight from the victory already granted. The enemy has no authority, only illusions remain, and the light within you is enough to burn every illusion forever. Beloved child, I desire to lead you into a new depth of maturity, a place many overlook, thinking it is passivity, endurance, or a sign of weakness. I speak to you of silence, not the silence of weakness, but the silence saturated with wisdom stronger than any argument. This is not the silence of the oppressed, but the silence of a warrior who knows when to wield the sword and when to stand still. This is the silence of a soul that fully trusts me, knowing I will act on your behalf. My child, recall the image of my Son when he was brought before the religious leaders, before Pilate, and before the crowd. They insulted him, slandered him, even fabricated lies to humiliate him. They expected him to respond to rage, to try to prove his innocence. But he chose silence. That silence was not because he could not defend himself. He is the truth, and a single word from him could have overturned everything. He remained silent because he knew that not every battle needs to be fought, not every accusation requires a reply. He was silent to show that real strength does not lie in shouting, but in steadfastness in truth. This world loves to draw you into endless disputes. Some words are not meant to seek truth, but to provoke, to wound, to drain your energy. The enemy knows that when you are caught in these arguments, your strength diminishes, you grow weary, you are prone to fall into anger or bitterness. It knows that one unwise word can topple the wall you have built with patience. That is why it pressures you, taunts you, slanders you, hoping you will lose control. But when you choose silence, you refuse to give it the weapon it desires. Your silence becomes a protective barrier, keeping your soul intact, unshattered by the enemy's poisoned arrows. I know there are times when you are hurt by the words of others. You want to shout to defend your honor, to argue to prove you are right, to explain so that others understand you. But my beloved, you do not need to shout to prove the truth. Truth does not require your defense, for truth itself will protect you. If today people do not recognize it, the results of your life will answer tomorrow. The fruit cannot be hidden, and in season it will demonstrate that you belong to me. Silence does not mean you accept slander. It means you trust that I will vindicate you at the appointed time. My child, imagine a seed sown into the ground. It is buried unseen, unacknowledged. Some may think it is dead. Yet the seed is quietly taking root, preparing to rise. Silence is like that. It is the time you spend in the shadows, unknown, unpraised, even misunderstood. But if you keep your heart in wise silence, then, when the sprout emerges, no one can deny the life within you. Silence nurtures life. It is not a place where life is extinguished. Silence also creates space for me to act. When you rush to justify yourself, you carry a responsibility that belongs to me. But when you step back, when you maintain stillness, you make room for me to move. It is in that silence that I arrange, I adjust, I turn things that you cannot. Do you remember Job? His friends constantly attacked, seeking reasons to condemn him. Job argued, Job defended himself, yet he only grew weary. Only when I spoke was justice truly revealed. And so it is with you. You do not need to claim what is mine. Your silence is proof that you trust I will act. Do not forget, silence teaches you to listen. When you stop speaking, you begin to hear the small whispers often missed. You hear gentle reminders from angels. You recognize a scripture echoing in your mind. You start to discern fleeting emotions from my deep voice. Silence turns your mind into a calm lake. Only when the water is still can you see the sky reflected clearly. If your heart is stirred by countless words, you will never perceive what I am revealing. I do not call you to silence at all times. There are moments when I call you to speak for justice, to defend the weak, to declare truth, but the difference lies in whether your words arise from wisdom cultivated in silence. Words spoken impulsively are like arrows shot into the night, aimless and blind, but words birthed from the stillness in me are like a sword striking the right place, powerful enough to pierce the darkness. Silence is the preparation ground for words with power. See silence as a strategy. When the enemy expects you to react, yet you remain peaceful, its plans collapse. When the world expects you to rage, yet you smile, their schemes fall apart. When the entire world hopes for your panic, yet you choose trusting silence, that is when you triumph. Silence is not emptiness, it is the presence of faith. Silence is an invisible declaration. I trust that you are at work, and that declaration is stronger than any shout. I call you to train in silence as a warrior hones a skill. It is not always easy for the human instinct desires to be heard, recognized, justified. But as you learn to remain quiet, you learn a great lesson. Your value does not come from what others say, but from what I have declared. In your stillness, you refuse to let others define you. You allow me to inscribe your true identity in your heart. And once you stand in that identity, no one can shake you. Beloved, regard silence as spiritual armor. When poisoned words fly toward you, the armor shields you. When temptation seeks to pull you into conflict, the armor keeps you steady. When doubt rises within, the armor reminds you that you do not need to rush, for I hold all things. Silence in me is strength. And you will discover, when you wear that armor, your soul moves firmly, no longer swept away by the clamor of the world. Beloved child, in every battle you face, the enemy is not necessarily stronger than you. It is merely more cunning in using illusions and schemes. One of its most common tactics is to create situations to draw you into endless disputes, into loops of anger or impulsive words. It knows that if it makes you speak too much, react too quickly, you will gradually lose alertness, and in that fatigue you will be prone to mistakes. But I want you to know that I have placed within you an exceedingly strong strategy, a weapon the enemy can never predict. It is silence. My child, when you are silent, you do not merely stop speaking. You choose not to play by the enemy's rules. It waits for you to respond, waits for you to lose composure, waits for you to give it an opening to twist your words against you. But when you remain silent, all its schemes vanish like smoke. It becomes confused, for it has nothing to exploit. Imagine a figure shouting, cursing, attacking with every word, while the one opposite sits quietly, eyes calm. Who is stronger at that moment? It is the one who is silent. For silence here is not helplessness. It is controlled strength, a tamed fire, a steadfast inner soul that cannot be shaken. Remember my son in the wilderness. The tempter came presenting all manner of promises and trials. It hoped he would argue, at length hoped he would justify himself, hoped he would react in the weakness of his hungry body. But my son did not enter into that game. He did not shout nor hastily explain. He responded briefly, firmly, with the word already written. It is written, and after 3 such responses, the tempter departed. Do you see, strength does not lie in the quantity of words, but in steadfast wisdom. Silence intertwined with words spoken at the right time and place dissolves all schemes. When you learn the art of silence, you will realize that you do not need to win by speaking much. The world teaches that the loudest voice prevails, that those who speak more are right, that those who justify cleverly are recognized. But in my kingdom, the one who wins is the one who knows how to be still, who knows how to leave room for me to act. The more you speak to defend yourself, the more you inadvertently say what is unnecessary. But when you remain silent, I will be the one who speaks for you. And when I speak, no one can deny it, for my voice is eternal and unwavering. Silence has yet another depth. It does not only confuse the enemy, but it also refines your own soul. You know that a person who has never learned silence can easily be ruled by emotions. When someone touches their pain, they immediately react. When someone says something disagreeable, they instantly retort. They are like a flame that ignites easily, yet also dies quickly. In contrast, the one who knows silence has learned to master themselves. They are like embers burning steadily, glowing, persistently capable of providing lasting warmth. My child's spiritual maturity does not come from speaking more, but from learning to keep a quiet heart. Imagine a warrior standing on the battlefield. Around them are shouts, the clash of swords, the cries of combat. Yet the warrior does not panic, does not shout, but remains focused, eyes fixed, heart steady. It is the inner stillness that brings outer steadfastness. Likewise, if you maintain inner silence, you will not be swept into the chaos of the world. You can move through noisy circumstances while keeping peace, and that peace serves as a testimony to others that you belong to me. Many times you think that silence means doing nothing, but I tell you the truth, silence is an action. Silence is the refusal to give the enemy power. Silence is standing firm on the foundation of truth. Silence is letting me fight on your behalf. And silence is also a declaration, invisible yet resounding through the heavens. I trust my Lord enough not to defend myself. When you keep silent in trust, heaven takes note, and darkness trembles for it, knows it no longer has control over you. Silence also helps you hear my voice more clearly. You may complain that sometimes when you pray you hear nothing, but the truth is my voice is still there. You have just not been still enough to perceive it. In the noise, it is difficult to discern what is emotion and what is truth, but when you are quiet, you begin to recognize the difference. You see which thoughts are fleeting, which are guidance from the Holy Spirit. You sense subtle directions that you previously overlooked. Silence transforms your soul into an open field, ready for the seeds of my word to be sown and bear fruit. My child, practice silence daily, not to become cold, but to become strong, not to withdraw, but to advance at the right time. Silence is like the rests in a musical score. Without rest, the music becomes chaotic noise. But thanks to the rest, the melody has rhythm, life, and harmony. Likewise, if you only speak and act without silence, your life becomes chaotic. But when you learn silence, you create space for my melody to resound in your life, making it a sacred composition full of rhythm, harmony, and balance. I remind you again, silence does not mean you will never be misunderstood. Others may misinterpret, judge, or think you cowardly. But you need not worry, for your silence testifies that you place your trust in me, not in the praise or criticism of the world. People may reject your words, but they cannot deny the results of my work within you. When the season comes, your fruits will reveal everything, and in that moment your silence will resound louder than any defense. My child, walk in silence like a warrior wearing armor. Let silence protect you from unseen attacks. Let silence train you to be steadfast. Let silence open your ears to hear my voice clearly. And let silence become the strategy that confounds the enemy, leaving them powerless, forced to retreat. You will see that when you embrace silence, you do not lose strength. On the contrary, you hold a strength higher, deeper, and more enduring than anything the world can offer. My beloved child, I want to lead you one step deeper into this truth. Silence is not only the armor that protects you, nor merely a strategy to keep you from traps, but it is a sacred space where I reveal my glory in your life. Often you think that for me to be present, for me to act, you must do much, you must speak much, you must cry out loudly to be heard. But what I long for in you is not that noise. I desire that you understand that in stillness I accomplish far more than you imagine. It is the quiet that opens the door for my glory to flow in, while your noise often makes it harder to perceive what I am doing. Remember my people at the Red Sea. Behind them were the sound of horses' hooves and the chariots of Pharaoh. Before them lay the vast sea, surrounded on every side by despair. They shouted, they cried, they accused Moses. But Moses said, "Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." Standing still, that is silence. No more shouting, no more panic, no more hastily devised plans, just lifting their eyes to me. And in that silence I parted the sea, creating a path through the waves. You see, miracles do not come in chaotic shouting, but in standing still. My glory is revealed not through noise, but through quiet trust. Often you ask, "Lord, where are you?" when I pray. But the truth is, I am there. It is only that you are too busy to hear. You chase one solution after another. You speak endlessly in prayer. You cry out. You argue with yourself, yet you rarely pause to listen. You think silence is useless, but in truth, silence allows you to see what busy eyes cannot perceive. In the stillness, you begin to recognize that I have gone before, preparing the way, arranging the people you will meet, and setting the stage for opportunities to unfold. It is in that quiet that my glory becomes clear. My child's silence not only allows me to reveal my glory, but it also prepares your words to carry divine authority. A person who speaks too much dilutes their words. But one who knows silence, when they finally speak others, will pause to listen. Silence gives weight to speech, proving that words are not spoken carelessly, but have been nurtured in wisdom. Remember my son who remained silent before accusations many times, yet when he spoke, every word echoed through eternity. I am the way, the truth, and the life was not spoken amidst chaotic debate, but was proclaimed from a life immersed in silence before the Father. His authority did not come from the number of words, but from the quality of the silence that gave birth to them. My child's silence is fertile ground, where I sow seeds, and those seeds will grow into words of power and transformation. If your heart is constantly noisy, the seeds are swept away, unable to take root. But in silence, the seeds grow deep, preparing for the harvest. One day, when you speak, your words will no longer be empty sounds, but streams of living water carrying healing, encouragement, and power. Those who hear will recognize that these words are not merely yours. They are a heavenly echo flowing through your mouth. I know silence is difficult, for it goes against human instinct. You want to react, to explain, to defend yourself. But when you choose silence, you practice a great faith. You trust that I am sufficient to defend your honor, to vindicate you, to act within your silence. That faith makes you strong, while hasty shouting only weakens you. Silence is an invisible declaration. I trust my Lord more than my own instincts. And that declaration resounds in the heavens, causing darkness to tremble. Let silence become your teacher. In silence, you learn to discern what is true speech and what is false echo. In silence, you recognize that fleeting emotions are not truth. In silence, you see that patience is the foundation of maturity. And in silence, you learn that wisdom is not speaking quickly, but knowing when to speak rightly. When you master this lesson, every word you speak will be like an arrow hitting its mark, precise, purposeful, and effective. Do not fear silence. The world may see it as weakness, but I say that silence is strength. The world may see it as a loss, but I say that silence is where I triumph on your behalf. The world may think it is useless, but I say silence is the space for my glory to pour in. And when you learn to embrace silence, you will see that your life is transformed. Your words will no longer be ordinary sounds, but sacred echoes, touching hearts, breaking chains, and shattering darkness. My child, let silence be the foundation for every word you speak. Let it prepare your soul, calm your heart, enlighten your mind, so that every word you utter carries the weight of my glory. And you will see even a single word spoken from silence before me can hold greater power than 1,000 hasty words. A single sentence can redirect a life, illuminate a soul, and shatter a plan of hell. And all of this begins with the silence that you have courageously embraced. I promise you, my child, silence will never take away your voice. On the contrary, it grants you a voice of authority that darkness must tremble before. Do not fear silence. Do not shrink from it. Step into it, as you would into a holy temple where I dwell, where my glory is revealed. And when you emerge from that silence, you will carry a flame, you will carry light, you will carry a voice, no longer merely your own, but mine within you. Believe that silence will not extinguish you. Rather, it will make you a beacon, so that when you speak, even the heavens must listen. My beloved, today I want to open your eyes to a truth you have heard many times but have never fully grasped. Prayer is a battlefield. It is not a religious ritual repeated in boredom. It is not a feeble request cast into the sky. Prayer is a weapon, a sword, a shield, a force that shakes heaven and earth and makes darkness tremble. When you kneel in prayer, you are not merely lamenting. You are stepping into a sacred battlefield. You are not simply conversing. You are declaring you are touching the gates of the heavenly armory. The enemy wants you to believe that prayer is useless, that it is merely words lost in the void. But I tell you, no prayer is ever wasted. Every word is gathered, preserved, sanctified, and sent directly to my throne. You may see your words as weak, yet when united with the Holy Spirit, they become sparks that ignite storms of fire from heaven. You may think you are whispering in the dark, but in truth, legions of angels await to join the battle at your call. Child, remember what I said in Ephesians: pray at all times in the Spirit with all prayer and supplication. To that end, keep alert with all perseverance, making supplication for all the saints. Prayer binds my warriors to heaven. It is like a communication line on a battlefield. If the line is severed, the soldier becomes isolated. But when the line of prayer flows freely, that soldier is supplied, guided, and protected. Prayer is the breath of the soul, and it is the signal of the battle. Without it, you suffocate in darkness. Do not forget, prayer is not just the words you lift. It is where I pour down strength. When you pray, you are not only changing circumstances, but you are being transformed. Each prayer is a blow against the darkness in your heart. Each prayer is a new armor you wear. And as you persist, you will become a warrior whom the enemy dares not approach. For you do not stand alone, I stand beside you. See, prayer is not a place to hide from reality. It is where you receive authority to confront and conquer reality. My dear child, imagine as you pray, each word is like a missile piercing through the darkness. Some missiles' effects are not immediately seen, for they pass through many layers. Yet each leaves a crack, and when I decide, the walls collapse. The enemy wants you to give up halfway, for it knows that if you persevere, victory is certain. Never think your prayer is too small to make a difference. Even a whispered word spoken in faith can shake the very foundations of hell. Know this prayer is also protection. When you pray, you erect a wall of fire around yourself, your family, and your community. Some calamities never reach you simply because you prayed, though you may never know they existed. Some poisoned arrows from the enemy are incinerated mid-air by the wall your prayer builds. Do not think prayer only changes what you can see. Often it saves you from what you cannot. Remember Job, he prayed constantly for his children, and it built a hedge that Satan could not breach. I want you to understand, prayer is not an optional addition. It is the breath of spiritual life. If you cease to pray, your soul will gradually wither. If you neglect prayer, you become an easy target for darkness. But if you are steadfast in prayer, you will find yourself covered, equipped, and strengthened. When you are weak, prayer draws you back to the source of power. When you are confused, prayer illuminates the path. When you are desperate, prayer opens the door to hope. And when you pray for others, you become an ally of heaven in the battle for their souls. I know there are times when you pray and see no change. You think I am silent. You feel your words are meaningless. Yet you do not know that in the unseen realms the battle rages fiercely. Remember Daniel. When he prayed, the answer was delayed from the very first day, but the prince of Persia opposed the angel for 21 days. If Daniel had given up, he would never have witnessed the miracle. Yet because he persisted, the angel Michael came to assist, and the answer was released. You see, perseverance in prayer is not merely a test. It is a strategy. It keeps the door open until victory arrives. My child, do not allow the enemy to make you believe that your prayers are not holy enough. You may think yourself clumsy, that your words lack beauty, that your voice shakes, but I look at the heart. A whisper from a sincere heart is stronger than 1,000 eloquent words spoken by an indifferent mouth. Remember, prayer is not performance, it is connection. And once you connect, I hear. Not because you are worthy, but because I love you. Not because you are perfect, but because my Son paved the way for your prayers to reach my throne. I call you, do not let a day pass without prayer. Do not see it as duty, but as privilege. Every prayer you speak is like placing a stone in a fortress wall. Every time you kneel, you are strengthening your spiritual muscles, so that when storms come, you will stand firm. Prayer is not to avoid the storm, but to stand within it without falling. And when you pray, you are never alone. All of heaven joins its rhythm with yours, and darkness is pushed back step by step. Child, begin today. Do not wait until you have the perfect words. Speak what is true in your heart. Father, please help me. Or simply, I need you. I hear, I answer. And each small word becomes a ray of light on the battlefield, where you and I stand together fighting side by side. You will see prayer does not detach you from reality. It allows you to see reality as it truly is, that I reign, that angels surround, and that darkness cannot prevail. Therefore, put on prayer as your armor, wield it, as your weapon, breathe it as your life. For in prayer you are not only speaking, you are fighting, and as you fight, you are enveloped in my impregnable protection. My beloved, I have shown you that prayer is a weapon, a protective wall, the breath of the soul. But today I want you to see something even deeper. Prayer transforms you into a true warrior in my hands. You do not pray merely to keep yourself safe. Each prayer is a step onto the battlefield to pull others out of chains. Each time you intercede, you wrest souls from the grasp of darkness. Each time you plead on behalf of another, you become a channel for grace, allowing salvation and deliverance to flow through you. My child, I want you to remember that when you pray, you are not standing only for yourself. You stand for your parents, for your children, for friends, and for those who may not even know they need intercession. Prayer transforms you into a watchman on the wall, one who does not slumber while the enemy prowls. When you kneel, you are not only protecting your own house, but the entire fortress around you. Others may be unaware, weary, or blind to danger, but you, when you pray, become eyes wide open, a sounding trumpet, a wall of fire, stopping the invading army. Beloved, the enemy trembles when it sees someone praying not for themselves but for others. For when you pray for yourself, you are protected. But when you pray for others, you open the door for me to enter their lives, even when they have not invited me. You are standing in the gap, bridging heaven and earth. You become a conduit for grace, to flow a channel for healing. Do you understand, my child? Each time you intercede, you are rewriting the story of a soul. Remember Abraham when he interceded for Sodom. He did not remain silent or indifferent, but stood in the midst, pleading for the righteous. Though the city was ultimately destroyed, his intercession revealed my mercy and demonstrated the power of one who dares to stand in the gap. Or consider Moses when the people sinned with the golden calf. He fell prostrate, pleading for them, and his intercession restrained my wrath. You see, intercession is not weakness. It is stepping into the ranks of warriors, confronting darkness through supplication. Beloved child, there are people in your life now who are bound by chains they cannot break themselves. Chains of addiction, bitterness, despair, deception. You look at them, feel the pain, and think yourself powerless. But I tell you, you are not powerless, for you have prayer. Each time you pray for them, you are gradually turning the key in the lock. The chains may not fall immediately, but each link weakens. One day, when I decree, the chains will snap. And when that day comes, it will be the perseverance of your intercession that pulls them from the darkness. Prayer also makes you an instrument in my hands. Often when you intercede for someone, I do not act on them alone. I prepare you to become the answer to that prayer. When you ask me to comfort the suffering, I soften your heart so you become a living word of comfort through action. When you plead for provision for the needy, I move you to become hands that share. When you ask me to break the chains of another, I transform you into a living witness of freedom. You see, prayer does not only change the world around you, it changes you, shaping you into a weapon made of flesh and bone. My child, I know you have often felt small, thinking your prayers are too weak to make a difference. But remember, the power of prayer is not in its volume, but in the one to whom you pray. When you pray in the name of my Son, all of heaven stands with you. When you intercede, angels do not merely stand beside you, they charge into battle. Hell trembles not because of your strength, but because you are joined with the Almighty. Remember, in intercession you do not fight alone, you march with the armies of heaven. I want you to understand that praying for others is also protection. Many around you are walking through battles they cannot see. They are deceived, oppressed, wounded. You may lack words, strength, or means to help them. But when you pray, you erect a sacred hedge around them. Many times they are spared, comforted, guided, all through your intercession. They may never know, but heaven remembers. And I, who see what is hidden, will reward you openly. My child, do not underestimate your role in this battle. You are not merely an observer. You are not passive waiting for good to happen. You are a warrior, an ally, an extension of heaven. When you intercede, you are stepping forward. When you plead, you are fighting. When you weep for others, each tear becomes a weapon, a seed sown into the earth, and I will cause it to sprout into salvation, deliverance, and transformation. My child, there will be times when you intercede for a long while before seeing any results. You may think, what good does it do? But I say to you, do not give up. Every prayer accumulates, every tear is recorded, and in my appointed time all will break forth. Like a seed buried in the ground unseen, at first it will one day rise into a mighty tree. Intercession is the same. You may not see the results immediately, but you are sowing into eternity. And I promise not a single seed is lost. My child, I encourage you, let prayer become the breath not only of your own life, but also of the souls around you. Do not let a day pass without interceding. Call out the names of those I have placed in your heart. Lift them up to me, even if the only words you have are, "Have mercy, I hear, I responded, and I act." You will see that through intercession you do not merely protect, you rescue. You do not merely erect a wall, you open a path. And when you persist, you will witness those once bound by darkness stepping into freedom, and you will join them in singing the song of victory. Therefore, do not underestimate the power of battle prayer. It not only keeps you safe, but transforms you into a weapon, a warrior, an instrument of deliverance. Each time you intercede, heaven moves, darkness trembles, and history shifts. Dare to believe, dare to stand, dare to intercede, for in prayer you will see me make you a warrior of the kingdom of light. My beloved, when you have learned that prayer is a weapon and that intercession transforms you into a warrior, I want to lead you to the final horizon of faith, my ultimate protection and the final victory already secured for those who persist in standing for truth. There will be moments of weariness, despair, when it seems the battle never ends, when every prayer seems to echo and then vanish into the void. That is when I call you to remember I have promised, and my promise never fails. Every prayer, every tear, every lament of yours is stored in the treasury of transformation, and in my timing I will count each one and return abundantly. My child, understand that my protection is not always displayed in the way you expect. You may wish for me to remove every temptation the moment it touches you, yet sometimes I allow trials to refine you. When you look at the history of spiritual witnesses, you see clearly many walked long valleys before seeing the dawn. But the key is, they did not walk alone. Though they journeyed through darkness, they were shielded in ways I knew not destroyed and used to display my glory. Ultimate protection does not mean removing all suffering. It means I will not allow that suffering to be the end of the story. My beloved, remember that final victory is not the result of isolated effort, but the product of the interaction between your persistent prayers and my power. When you pray, you name the needs, lay hands on the wounds, place your loved ones into my embrace. Each prayer is like a nail driven into the foundation of history in the unseen realm. Gradually, the works I am doing are secured, and in my time, each part will blossom like a flower. The battle is not merely to show you immediate results. It is the journey I use to accomplish a greater purpose in souls and in communities. Do not forget, I do not tolerate injustice. I see all things, I understand every scheme. When you pray, I do not only listen, I arrange. Sometimes the answer seems delayed because I am doing many things at once, revealing, purifying, exchanging, so that when victory comes, it does not merely save you, but glorifies me. My protection is not to shield you from every hardship, but to ensure that no suffering is wasted. All is turned to produce greater good. The ultimate victory is already secured in my eternal nature. The powers you confront are not the final authority. Though they may appear mighty, though they may achieve temporary victories, the source of true power lies in me. I have conquered death, broken the chains of sin, and if you stand in relationship with me, you share in that victory. This is not empty comfort, it is tangible truth. My victory includes you. Each time you stand firm, each time you pray when weary, you participate in a victory already granted. Often you fear losses too great to recover. You fear wounds that will never heal. But I say the wound is not the end. I can use the wound to generate mercy lessons, testimony. From your scars I write chapters of praise, and when I reveal my glory, what you thought lost will become a source of blessing for others. Even in what you perceive as defeat, I sow seeds of great victory. This is how I transform all things, and it is part of ultimate protection. When your heart trembles because you see no immediate response, look for the small signs. A door slightly opened, a relationship mended, a good thought, ignited in the mind of the one for whom you pray, all are traces of my hand. Sometimes you only see clouds because you focus too much on each passing wind. Learn to see with the eyes of faith, not merely the eyes of emotion. When you learn this, you will realize that you have been protected in ways I can reveal at any moment. Dangers stopped, attacks neutralized, even wounds transformed. My beloved child, I also want to remind you about the community. My ultimate protection is not reserved for you alone, but for those who stand with you. When the community prays, when many persist in the same petition, the protective barrier multiplies. Heaven moves powerfully when prayers converge in harmony. Remember, your prayers for others do not only benefit them, they ripple outward, forming a network of divine safeguarding. That is why I always call you to pray for one another, for when many voices join, as one the power of heaven moves with unimaginable depth. My child, I know there are moments when you think the final victory is too far away, that the enemy is too strong, that my work is too great for you to influence. But remember, I do not demand you stand alone. I demand faith. A small faith nurtured by perseverance is enough to move mountains. When that faith meets prayer, when your heart aligns with my will, what once seemed impossible suddenly becomes attainable. And when this happens, I declare the final victory has begun to manifest. I want you to hold a few things in your heart like a lighthouse. First, never regard a temporary setback as the final defeat. Second, do not let pain turn you into a pessimist. Let it turn you into a bearer of hope. Third, do not give up when you cannot yet see the victory, for I may be working in the silence to prepare a great work. Every sincere prayer is placed into the treasury of sacred time, and I will draw each token at the right moment, returning abundance. My child, finally, I want to embrace you with this word. You do not fight for victory as the godless fight for emptiness. You fight from a victory already granted. I have won for you. Every step you continue to stand, every prayer you utter, every act of forgiveness, every stance for righteousness, all are ways in which you receive and expand that victory. The enemy may shout, may flaunt, may cause temporary harm, but the entirety of history will converge to prove that light always triumphs, that my love is never defeated, that my protection is ultimate, and that the final victory is not a vague hope, but an eternal decree. My child, continue to pray. Shine in the darkness. Stand within the protection I provide, and trust that all I do is aim toward ultimate freedom for you and those you love. When my day comes, every sigh will turn into song, every pain will be transformed into light, and you will join me in praising the final victory. Amen. Thank you for listening to today's message. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so we may together receive these living words, build unshakable faith, and walk in the boundless love of God. Amen.